Good afternoon and welcome to everybody, and thank you for taking the time to join our webinar on Bomgar, the Enterprise Remote Support Solution. In this session this afternoon, it's one of a series of sessions that Partners in IT are running on how Bomgar integrated with ServiceNow can drive efficiency in your support function, ultimately giving your service desk operation the tools to increase first-time resolution and on from that customer satisfaction. My name is Zach Harding, and I'm an account director here at Partners in IT. Our company, which is based in Bracknell in the UK, has been focused since 1996 on working with IT organisations on delivering cost savings, service improvements via a combination of technologies. It's all based processes and organisational change. In terms of an agenda today, I'm running through this introduction for Partners in IT, and then the main event will be from my colleague from Bomgar, Adam White, to take us through a demonstration of Bomgar integrated with ServiceNow. And then following on from that, we'll take some questions and answers, which we'll do via the chat functionality. So at any point during the demonstration, if you want to type down your questions for us, I will collate those and replay them back at the end of the session. I just thought I'd take a couple of minutes just to introduce what we do at Partners in IT. So this slide represents, in our view, in order to drive ITSM maturity, organizations need a combination of tools, processes, dashboards and reports to enable them in turn to deliver cost-effective services out to their businesses. This next slide really shows how this strategy comes together for us in a combination of ServiceNow and branded complementary products from Partners in IT. So from the top, we've got Perform IT, which is our KPI dashboard capability for driving dynamic decision making, and that's a technology that is Mirror 42 that we've rebranded there. Below that, got Govern IT, and that's our process framework. Very much a way of delivering implementation acceleration, but also to a governance framework. On the left, we've got Transform IT, which is our implementation methodology. And down here, next to ServiceNow, we've got Bomgar, which is, in our opinion, best in class when it comes to remote support. We've been working with ServiceNow for the last 3 years and Bomgar more recently. And in our opinion, these platforms have become game-changing when it comes to our own business, but also our clients' business. In this session, Adam White from Bomgar will take us through how Bomgar's industry-leading remote support solutions can make your support operations more responsive, efficient, and secure by removing the barriers between your customer and your support teams. In addition to seeing how the Bomgar technology works, we can also see how it can be embedded in your ServiceNow solution, therefore maintaining the idea of a single record of truth throughout ServiceNow, so be able to see what's gone on, when it's been done, who's done it. That's premise. So without any more ado, I will hand you over to Adam, who will take us through the Bomgar presentation.
Okay, great. Thanks, Zach.
You're welcome.
Okay, excellent. Thank you all for your time today. We really appreciate it, and certainly I look forward to questions that you may have. As Zach mentioned, I'm going to take you through an overview demonstration of Bomgar, and Bomgar also in the context of ServiceNow. So there are a couple of moving pieces actually that we'll be working with on my system. Obviously, ServiceNow, as you see it on my screen here, as well as the Bomgar representative console. So this console is actually what a representative will log into to basically make themselves available from a Bomgar standpoint. Bomgar is most typically deployed as an appliance. So our customers actually own and host the Bomgar appliance. Representatives are able to log into the Bomgar appliance outbound over a port 443 connection. So no firewall configuration is required for the representative. And likewise, no firewall configuration is required for the customer as well. So in Bomgar, really both parties, the representative providing support and the customer receiving support, are simply meeting in the middle at that Bomgar appliance. And so the appliance is doing the job of matching the appropriate representative with the appropriate customer, securing the connection, encrypting the connection, and then also capturing a full audit log of the actual interaction between the representative and the customer. Okay, so we will also be looking at a customer experience through this Windows 7 virtual machine. So we'll kind of have the representative experience in the background, the customer experience in the foreground. As you can see, Bomgar is a multi-platform solution. I'm actually running the representative console on my Macintosh. The customer in this case will be Windows 7 and another device that we'll be looking at as well. So Bomgar definitely works on Windows, Linux, Macintosh. As a representative, you can actually be a representative from Windows, Linux, Mac, iOS, and Android. So we do actually have mobile representative consoles as well. And then the customer actually receiving support can be on Windows, Linux, Macintosh, iOS, Android, BlackBerry, and Windows Mobile. So you really have a great ability to reach out to systems or allow systems to reach out to you that are needing support, and not just, again, your traditional kind of desktops and servers, although that's certainly possible. Also, mobile devices, laptops, and smartphones and tablets as well. Okay. So let's take a look at a couple of sessions. What I'll do is actually, since we've seen the Bomgar component, we'll be coming back to this, but we'll be coming back to this in the context of ServiceNow from this point on. So what we're looking at in ServiceNow is an incident. We're able to actually go in here to an incident and see a couple of places where this Bomgar integration allows us to actually utilize Bomgar in supporting this customer with the problem that they're experiencing. So this first scenario will be basically a customer who is sitting at their system needing assistance, is reaching out to the service desk either in regards to an incident that is already open or starting a new incident. And so this representative now has this incident in their queue and can begin a Bomgar interaction with this customer through several ways, one of which is that the representative is actually able to generate a session key, a Bomgar session key, from within the ServiceNow incident. So the representative is basically able to invoke a key that can be utilized to start a session with the customer. Okay, so one of the things about Bomgar with the Bomgar appliance, for example, is that you are able to offer to your customers a support portal. And so that's exactly what we'll see if I bring up this virtual machine again that is our customer. I actually have a support portal that's hosted on the Bomgar appliance. This can be branded and customized to kind of your look and feel. But what it allows is the customer the ability to enter this session key that is communicated by the representative. So again, in the background we can see the representative's experience. in the foreground, the customer's experience. So the representative is able to verbally communicate this 7-digit numeric number to the customer, or to simply send the customer an email, and that email will just have basically this hyperlink that the customer is able to click on, and that would start a session. But we'll just do this through the session key. So 6958389. So we can, again, if we're on the phone with the customer, verbally communicate that. The customer would be able to submit this key, and this is going to prompt the customer to run a small piece of software. So this Bomgar connection that we are engaging with the customer does not require any pre-deployed software on the side of the customer. They're able to run this software at the time of the connection in an ad hoc fashion, and then actually at the end of the session, the Bomgar software will completely remove itself. Okay, so we see a window here on the customer side that is the Bomgar customer client. And if we go back over to the representative console now, we can see this customer has entered the representative's queue. So do you wish to accept an incoming connection from the name of the customer, the computer name, the IP address? So the representative is able to accept this connection and begin working with this customer immediately through the representative console. So I can move the mouse now, type on the keyboard, do whatever I need to do to help solve the customer's issue, and we can interact with one another to do exactly that. Okay. Let's go back to ServiceNow and actually talk about another use case as well. And so if I go back into the interface here, and we actually take a look at this configuration item section. So one of the things that you can do in ServiceNow is actually set up these configuration items that relate to your devices that are out there. And in this case, this configuration item is basically bound to this incident. So there's the ability here in ServiceNow for me to leverage this orange Bomgar B, which says jump to configuration item with Bomgar. So what that's going to allow me to do is leverage the unattended functionality of Bomgar. So the previous session that we were looking at allows the representative and customer to kind of get together in a session in an ad hoc fashion where the customer was able to just run a piece of software. No pre-deployed software was required. This is going to leverage what's called a Bomgar Jump client, which is a client that you can pre-deploy out to systems. And this will allow the representative to initiate a connection to this machine. So if I do exactly that, just click the orange B here, we can see that it's programmatically bringing me to my representative console. It is initiating this connection outbound to this desktop system. And as we can see in the representative console, it has actually populated a new tab. So this is a tabbed interface. You can have control of multiple systems simultaneously. And we can see that I'm actually able to interact with this device without requiring any end-user interaction. Okay. So again, the previous connection was made by the representative communicating a session key, the customer inputting that session key, running that ad hoc piece of software, and subsequently allowing remote support to occur through their Bomgar customer client. And in this case, this was initiated just through a configuration item link to this Bomgar client already running on this remote system. So, again, very commonly used in our customer base for servers, back office workstations, kiosks, point of sale systems, all manner of use cases here. And again, this can allow the representative the ability to create this connection. Now, I'll pause here for a moment and talk about the permissions of Bomgar. So the representative console that we're logged into here, the representative is actually able to leverage their domain credentials, their Active Directory credentials, to log into Bomgar. So you can actually integrate the Bomgar appliance to LDAP, Radius, or Kerberos within your infrastructure. So this can really allow the administrator of the appliance to define closely who their representatives are, but also exactly what they can do when they're logged into the representative console and when they're interacting with customers. You can have a great sense of peace as to what their permissions actually are, and again, how they're able to interact. So things like this unattended access you may not give to every representative, but you may give to certain people, and other representatives are able to assist incoming connections from a customer that's actually sitting at the machine. And so the granularity of those permissions extends far into a session as well, where you're able to define things like, is the representative able to interact with, for example, this file transfer interface? So inside of each session tab, we have these sub-tabs like file transfer. So this would give the representative the ability to interact with my local system, the remote system. Maybe I need to pull a log file from this remote device, and so I can do that in real time through this file transfer interface if I've been given permission by the appliance administrator to engage with the customer in that way. The same thing applies with the command shell. So this is going to give me the ability to interact directly with this command shell of the customer system. Again, I'm on a Macintosh representative console. We have control of a Windows 7 machine in this case, so I can do things like an IP config on the remote machine, if I can type it properly. So here we see the output of this IP config within the representative console. And not only can I type manual commands, but there's the ability for the appliance administrator to go in and create basically a toolkit of scripts that are called CAN scripts in Bomgar. So these are typically diagnostic scripts, troubleshooting scripts, the solutions to frequently seen problems. So there's the ability for the representative now to go in and say, okay, I'm working on a Windows system, and these are the things that I commonly need to do from a troubleshooting standpoint, so you can invoke these scripts. We also, a lot of our customers are populating this script database with things maybe that are commonly escalated to Tier 2, Tier 3 subject matter experts, right? So those items that can be encapsulated into a script, you can give access to those things to maybe lower tiers of representatives, so that hopefully those problems can be solved before they're escalated, solved in a more timely manner for the customer. And if they can't be solved by the script, maybe at least you have more information to pass along when you are actually escalating the session. Okay. And then also system information, so the ability to pull information from the remote machine in real time. So we can see things like the operating system, computer name, BIOS, processors, memory, drives, processes, events, the network interfaces and their addresses, and then also things like devices on the remote system, processes running, events that have occurred, and programs installed. So again, these are all things that we see now as a part of the representative console and that we can interact with. And one of the nice things that we notice here as well is that here in the session information section, we can see information, again, about the session itself, how long we've been involved with the customer, the IP address of the remote side, customer name, computer name, platform, the public site that they came through. So in Bomgar, you can actually have multiple public-facing portals if you have different business units, for example. And then also this external key field. So the external key is populated here because we actually initiated this session through ServiceNow. So we can actually go in and one of the nice things here is that if we are transferred this session, for example, from another representative, one of the things that I can do as maybe the second representative is say, okay, where is a breadcrumb that will take me back to this incident within ServiceNow? And so we have this custom link field here where you can actually just click this as a representative, and this will take you directly back to that ServiceNow ticket, so that, again, from the context of Bomgar, you can go back into the appropriate context in ServiceNow. Okay. And as a benefit of that, one thing that I mentioned earlier is that the Bomgar appliance is actually capturing a full audit log of the session. Something that we'll see in just a few minutes is that at the end of a remote support session like this, the representative doesn't have to do anything to actually populate the ServiceNow incident with the Bomgar reporting data. Because this external key is in here, the integration is going to leverage our API to actually push this data directly into the appropriate incident in ServiceNow at the end of this session. So we'll see, things like who the representative was, who the customer was, a time-stamped log of the session, the system information that was pulled, and those are all things that the representative doesn't have to remember to input into the incident. It's automatically going to be done through this integration. Okay, just a couple of quick things here in the Bomgar interface before we move back into the ServiceNow incident. We have a lot of customers, among our almost 7,000 customers that are using Bomgar over maybe less than ideal network situations, so dial-up, satellite, 3G connections, wireless in hotels, which in my experience is never that great. So if you're supporting someone who is in one of those situations where their bandwidth is less than desirable, there's the ability to take Bomgar down to a low bandwidth mode, so it can really speed up the connection for the representative and hopefully allow the session to happen more quickly. There's the ability to reboot the system, reboot into safe mode with networking, shut down the device, request automatic login credentials. So if the customer needs to go to lunch, for example, they can input their credentials. It will store that. We're just leveraging a function of Windows. It will store those encrypted in the Windows environment. Bomgar doesn't know the credentials. The representative doesn't know the credentials, but we can actually leverage that credential set on a reboot to allow the representative to come back into the context of the customer when that reboot occurs. And then I've alluded to the collaborative abilities of Bomgar. So in Bomgar, you can actually set up teams of representatives. You can allow your representatives to collaborate with one another by either transferring a session or sharing a session. So there's the ability to transfer a session to another team of representatives or to a specific representative. So if I know that Zach has more experience with this issue than I do, I can transfer the session to him, or I can share the session, bring him in real time, and let him assist me with the issue. We can actually bring in multiple representatives at the same time. And not only representatives that are inside of our service desk, but also there's the ability to reach out to an external party as well. So if this is a vendor or partner, we have the ability to invite an external representative. So this really allows you to extend your service desk, bring in those needed and necessary resources at the time the customer is experiencing an issue, and do this in a way that is very seamless for the customer. So their perception is that you're just bringing in people that can help, and you're not really bouncing them around from department to department while you try and find someone. So to Zach's point earlier, building in that efficiency to your overall process can really help boost customer satisfaction. Okay. So what I'll do is actually close this session. We'll just pull this over and click this X in the upper right-hand corner of the representative console here. This will allow me to close the session with the customer. And what I'll do is go back into ServiceNow at this point. And let me just refresh my my window here so we're getting all of the latest information. So if I go down into the incidents that are assigned to me, this is the one that we were working on just a moment ago. And so what we have in the bottom part of this representative, or excuse me, of the ServiceNow interface is this Bomgar Sessions tab. So I'm able to go in now and actually look at these historic sessions that have occurred. So for example, I can go into the details of this specific session, see the again the incident number, who the representative was, the duration of the session, when the session started, when it ended, who the customer was, the host name of the device, public and private IP address, the full chat transcript that we see here, so the ability to actually see the chatting that occurred between the representative and the customer. If any work notes were applied, if any files were transferred, the command shell interaction, we're actually able to see that as a full flash video. So the command shell interaction is used quite a lot by our customers to, for example, one of the things that you can do with that is create an SSH or telnet session to routers, switches, firewalls, Linux or Unix systems that aren't running a GUI, for example. So you would have the ability to go in and actually look at the command shell recording from those systems. And then, as I was mentioning, also the chat transcript that we have here, or excuse me, the system information. So this is the system information that was pulled from the remote machine. All of that data that we saw as a part of the session is now a part of the incident in ServiceNow. So, you know, as it relates to this kind of point-in-time connection with this system, this was the configuration. This is exactly, you know, what it looked like from a hardware and software standpoint, as well as, you know, the network information of the remote system. And one of the things, too, you know, so we've talked about the Bomgar appliance capturing this audit log, the fact that, you know, on a kind of a context basis here, we have this data flowing back into ServiceNow. The appliance is actually going to capture data for a 90-day period. And so what you're able to do is take that data off of the appliance through our API to actually archive that. So, you know, a lot of our customers are bound by compliance regulations like HIPAA, Sarbanes-Oxley, PCI, on and on. So there's the ability to actually take that data off of the appliance for long-term storage, as well as, obviously, you know, you can integrate this with ServiceNow to retain that data. But one of the things that you certainly get, in addition to the command shell recording, is this video session recording. And so this will take us out to the Bomgar appliance to actually log in and look at that on the appliance. But that is a full flash video of the entirety of the session that you can actually go into and see, you know, here again in the context of this incident and this interaction with this customer. Okay. One other use case that I want to talk through, and I'll just go back to my representative console, and we'll actually close the session with this attended system that we were working with earlier, because I'm actually going to start a different kind of connection from that device. And so if we go over to that customer system, that virtual machine that we've been using, we kind of see the post-session experience here, which is a removal complete notice. You know, thank you for using Bomgar. Your session is now ended. Your computer can no longer be accessed or controlled using Bomgar. So for those ad hoc sessions, again, it's going to remove that software at the end of the session, and that's exactly what we see here, is a notification of that. By the way, this text is customizable, as is the exit survey that you're able to give to the customer post-session, which is what we see here. So the customer would be able to view or download the chat transcript. They could even view or download the video session recording if you had that enabled. Okay, so let's take a look again at a different kind of session, which is what is called click-to-chat in Bomgar. And so what this is going to do is allow us here as the customer, again within this virtual machine, we're actually in the self-service portal of ServiceNow. And what we have here inside of an incident, so if, again, I'm a customer, I'm experiencing an issue with my system, I'm going into ServiceNow to look at this incident that I've reported to the service desk, but something new, there's been a new development, a new type of error message, you know, something like that. So I can actually go into this incident and say, get support now. And what this is going to do is actually allow me as the customer to request assistance. So I can actually go in and begin a chat with the service desk through this Get Support Now option. It's the same functionality that we would see in if I just go to basically the same site that we're using. There is the ability to turn on to this portal an incident list, basically, where the customer would choose an incident that best describes their problem, and that could start a chat session. So this Get Support Now option is really intended to do that same thing, where the representative, or excuse me, the customer is able to request support, again, simply through this chat with the service desk through this self-service portal. So I just wanted to talk through that use case to let you know that it was there. And those types of chat interactions, which can actually go from chat to full remote control, it's possible, to see those actually go into the context of this incident in ServiceNow post-session as well. So that avenue would still give you the ability to actually record all of this and have the Bomgar data go into the context of this incident inside of ServiceNow. And Zach, I'll open the floor up for questions. Any questions that anyone has?
Thank you very much, Adam. That's fantastic. So in terms of questions, I've got several questions that have come through. And there's two of them actually that seem to me linked, so I'll kind of try and summarize them. So one of them was around implementation. What does a typical implementation look like? And another question related, from my mind anyway at least, was if a customer wants to look at Bomgar from an evaluation point of view, what's involved in that kind of process?
Yeah, great questions. So from an implementation standpoint, as far as Bomgar is concerned, it's either a physical or virtual appliance that you would be able to put into your environment. So it's basically just provisioning an IP address. If it's a virtual appliance, provisioning the resources for the appliance. And then it's really a standalone device. You administer the appliance through a web interface. As I mentioned, you're able to integrate to LDAP Radius or Kerberos for representative authentication. So standing it up is should be an hour or two job, just depending on if you have to get things like an IP provisioned or something for the appliance. So pretty simple from that standpoint. And then as far as the integration is concerned to ServiceNow, that is something that is for sure offered through professional services engagement, and is really just an update set that can be applied to ServiceNow. Make a couple of tweaks to the Bomgar appliance as far as the API is concerned, turning some things on, making sure that that's optimally configured. So that's actually a pretty simple process as well. So all of kind of these value points of the integration and the value derived through Bomgar can actually be realized very quickly. It's not a long implementation cycle for any of these parts. And as far as evaluating Bomgar, as I mentioned, well, there are basically three ways to evaluate Bomgar. We can actually set up a hosted environment for you on a platform that we can host. It would be something.bomgar.com, and you can kind of kick the tires that way. And then, if it's warranted, we can also do a physical or a virtual appliance for an evaluation as well. But that's something that on a kind of case-by-case basis, just work with partners in IT, and we can get that sorted for you.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Next question is around the licensing model. How does the licensing model work for Bomgar?
Yeah, great question, and thank you. I should have covered that already. So the licensing model in Bomgar is a concurrent license. So it basically relates to the number of representatives that will be providing support, logged into Bomgar concurrently. So we typically see a 40 to 50% concurrency in Bomgar. If you have 20 representatives, maybe 8 to 10 of them will be providing support at any one time, or would need to provide support at any one time. So that's what we typically see. And one of the nice things too is that we don't license by the number of customers that you're supporting, or from the unattended side, we don't license by the number of nodes that you have out there. The only thing that ever matters in Bomgar is how many representatives need to concurrently provide support to end customers.
Excellent. The next question is with regards to language support. So I can see the one we're looking at on the screen now is for someone in Czechoslovakia. So does it support multiple language types?
It does. So the languages currently, let's see if I can remember all of them. English, Spanish, French, Italian, Dutch, Portuguese, and then we have Turkish, we have simplified Chinese, and Japanese. So those and German, excuse me. And so those are the languages the language packs that we currently have.
Thank you very much.
And I'm sorry, just to add to that, you can, through the representative console, that interface, the customer client, and the administrative interfaces would be available in those languages as well.
Okay. Well, that's it for questions. So we'll wrap up the session there, which is quite good timing actually, just bang on 40 minutes. But I will be following up this session with an email, just so everyone's got my contact details again, but also I'll follow up with a phone call. So if there are any more questions that people have got, then feel free to ask me directly. And if anyone's interested in an evaluation, then also feel free to reach out, and we can get that set up very quickly and easily for you to get a good functional understanding of how it could work in your environment. But I'll leave it there, and thanks very much for your time.